Hello, and welcome to Swell Season. This is, before we start the show, just wanted to let all you know, this is the start of a new series for us. It's our Art and Design series, and we have two good friends of mine, Christopher Coffin and Christopher Labsa, both exceptional artists and, established in their field, and we thought we'd bring them in and do some interviews on art because I don't know a lot about art. And I feel like the more voices we bring in, the better narration of our culture we get and more diversity in it. So trying to bring other people in to help give us different voices. So I hope you really enjoy it. I'm really excited about it. Our guest on this episode is Mr. Kris Chatterson, artist, also known for great Instagram Hullaholic, and he's a Hull aficionado, and you're going to really enjoy the show. So hope sit back and relax and have a drink, and we'll check you later. You. Hello and welcome to Swell Season Surf Radio. I am your host, Tyler Brewer, and we have a really special show for you this episode. We are launching a new series out of Swell Season. It basically covers the art and design, so it's Swell Season Art and Design. And we have contributors who have some expertise in this because honestly, you probably don't really want to hear me talk about art. It's pretty remedial. So we have people who can speak articulately about this and who are surfers. So I'd like to introduce our new contributors to the arts and design section of the Swell Season Surf Radio. The founder and creative director for the Headland Collective, Mr. Christopher Labsa. Headland is a collective of artists, photographers, directors, and craftsmen who are committed to responsibly producing compelling narratives, impactful imagery, and sustainable objects through our diverse community and varied experiences. They stand collectively stronger and better suited to meet the needs of the evolving image-based world. And then our other contributor who is joining Mr. Labsa, Mr. Kris Coffin. So we have two Chris's here, so it might get a little confusing. Mr. Kris Coffin is an old friend of mine. We go way back to 2003, the Mid-Atlantic Surf Art Expo we met, which was a art show in Williamsburg back in the day, way back when there was nothing going on there. And Mr. Coffin is a surfer, an ocean lifeguard, open water swimmer. He's a two-time New York Foundation. He is a two-time New York Foundation on the Arts Grant recipient, a Rima Hortman Grant nominee, and a Fulbright Scholarship nominee. And he's got a nice backhand off the top. So, hey, and both are good-looking guys. And they have a really awesome guest tonight. They interviewed a friend of ours, a person I've known for a while in the New York surf scene, but he's quite an accomplished artist. And it's a third Kris. So we have a menage a trois of Chris's tonight with Mr. Kris Chatterson. He is an artist born in Orlando, Florida. He has spent the past 10 years working between Los Angeles and New York and now resides in Rhode Island. Recent exhibition venues include the Jeff Bailey Gallery, the Asaya Gaisberg Gallery, the Leslie Heller Workspace and Feature Inc. in New York, Western Project, Summer Camp Project, Project in Los Angeles, the Dorch Gallery in Miami. There's quite a few here. And I know there's also a whole surfing aspect. He has the Instagram account Hullaholics and also is designing his own wetsuit brand and all sorts of creative stuff. So first, Kris and Kris, welcome to the show. Stoked to have you guys as contributors. I hope I didn't butcher all those names too badly.
It's a lot.
It's a lot, man.
A lot.
And I have to turn the AC off in here because I don't want that background noise. So I'm sweating while reading it.
Well, thanks a lot for having us. I'm super excited to be part of this, and I think the tag team of Kris and Kris is going to do it. We're going to do a great job to bring some interesting content in the areas of art and design.
It's awesome. I'm really psyched. You know, when we started talking about this, and you know, we were just even talking like how this niche has not really been filled in the podcast sphere. You know, for surfing, there's a lot of artists and a lot of creative people, and they've been, you know, interviewed in different shows, but there's nothing specific towards this. And I'm really excited that we can be doing something like this series, maybe that it takes place once a month. So psyched. What do you guys think? What's your idea for the show? What do you see it being?
Kris, why don't you go?
I'll jump on that one. I think we're excited to just have the conversation about creativity and surfing. I think a lot of people shy away from discussing how the two merge together, and I think the first interview with Kris Chatterson kind of opened that up nicely, kind of seeing how his creative process was pretty tied closely to what, you know, how he's like his ideas on surfing and how he engages with the world. So it was a fun first episode that we ran through, I think.
Now, why did you guys choose Mr. Chatterson? What brought the appeal to make him your first guest?
I mean, Kris is a close friend of mine from back in Brooklyn, and he I first got to know Kris as an artist, and I was introduced to him by another artist friend of mine, and this guy said, knowing that I was a surfer and a lifeguard and a swimmer and everything, he's like, you guys are going to totally hit it off, and as artists and as, you know, watermen. And as I got to know Kris, I just like learned so much about him, and I thought that his story was really interesting. You know, we covered a lot in the interview, from, you know, his upbringing in Florida, how he developed as a surfer, his interest in art as a young kid, and how that just kind of like it built on each other every step of the way, up through college, studying art, moving to Los Angeles, you know, moving to Brooklyn, and then moving to Rhode Island. And as he developed as a person and as he developed as an artist, his surfing also developed. And he just became richer and richer as a person, as an artist, and as a surfer. And I think he has a great story to tell.
Can you describe his work? Like what, how would you describe it to our listeners? This is a great exercise in your verbal skills too, and vocabulary. So we will be taking marks.
Oh,
I'm going to leave this to Kris.
All right. Well, Kris Chatterson was painting for a number of years prior to landing on the way he develops his practice today. So a lot of times now he was working. Correct me if I'm wrong, Kris, but he was doing some sort of for-hire work where he had to be on the computer for long hours using Illustrator and Photoshop, and he wound up actually digging back into his own archive and sampling in a sense from his own old painting practice, and then he was recycling that material into a new mode of painting in a sense, which when he was doing this, there was a lot of artists in Brooklyn kind of experimenting with the analog versus digital world, which we mentioned in our conversation, like Letha Wilson and Kate Stetchute. And it's not that he was tied to that camp, but there was a moment in time where a lot of people were using this to kind of form a new mode of abstraction. Yeah. So I would say his work looks like abstract painting, but the way he's getting to it is much different than the regular route.
Yeah, I think he was trying to reinvent a new vocabulary for painting. Yeah, and by like you said it very well, Kris. This kind of like this conflation of the digital and the analog, and the very physically expressive gestural mark making that could be either it showed the hand of the artist while also using digital technologies to create imagery that was still trying to express what he was trying to say. And it also has a very fluid look to it that I gravitate to. It's something we talked about in the interview, and that's somewhere where the surfing lies, like his connection to water. It's very apparent.
Now he has some surf projects he's working on. What are some of the things that he has in the works?
I think Kris knows more about this than I do, because he's.
Are we allowed to talk about it? I mean, he's got one heck of an Instagram.
Yeah, he's a very his things are very well thought out and very curated, and everything that he touches really has some type of like creative vein running through it, and it's all art. Whether he's developing a brand called Hullholic, or he's trying to get a wetsuit company off the ground that's really interesting. He's working with materials, he's working with stitching, he's working with different colored panels on different types of suits. I mean, really, I'm actually, working with him on him creating a custom wetsuit for me. He's going to do a long sleeve shorty for me, and we're trying to like integrate some really interesting stitching and some interesting neoprene placement of different panels. So like even the wetsuit is this multicolored work of art. But right now he's working on some very interesting block prints for a surf shop up in Rhode Island, and a lot of that design is going to be brought to some skateboards. Potentially, he's going to do a series of one of a kind prints. It's just everything that he's doing as a painter is just kind of like growing and growing.
So where can our listeners find him? We can find him on Instagram, we know, at Hullaholic.
I think the best place to start is just go to KrisChatterson.com, and that's KRIS Chatterson, double T, KrisChatterson.com, and then you can probably jump in and hit his Instagram from there, and then you'll be off and running.
Cool. And you guys enjoyed the interview, I take it.
Yeah. Kris is a great guy. He's I was introduced to Kris by two separate people, which I mentioned in the interview. Mm-hmm. And when people from the art world tell me I have to meet somebody because they surf, I usually say, no, I don't. And then vice versa, when I meet people out in the line and say my buddy's an artist, I have to meet their friend, I should say, nope, I don't. But Kris is the exact opposite of that. He came highly recommended from both the art world and the surf world, and not that I'm ever looking for a in-depth conversation about contemporary art in the lineup, but with Kris, you can actually get that, which is